All right, so today, how to get your first deal. I know that for a lot of people, including myself, when we're just getting started, getting the first deal is probably going to be the most challenging part of the business, right? Is getting something under contract so that you could either keep it, buy and hold, flip it, or assign the contract. Now, for most people, when you're just getting started as a real estate investor and you're brand new, for most people, what you're going to probably do is you're going to assign the contract. Okay, so if you're brand new, ideally, what's going to happen, or you could JV and partner up with somebody else too. That's another option. But 90% of the time, if you're brand new and you don't really have the capital to start investing yet, what you will do is you will get the property under contract and then you will assign it to an end buyer. That's typically what the strategy is going to be. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to get that first deal under contract so that you can then assign the opportunity, right? You can wholesale the opportunity. You could sell the equitable interest. Remember that all three of those things mean the exact same thing. You're going to notice that I do that a lot. So I repeat things and I rephrase them different ways because everybody has a different vernacular, and in different parts of the country, they say things differently. So their assignment, wholesale, selling your equitable interest, all three of those things mean the exact same thing. Okay, let me put myself on do not disturb. Sorry about that. So let's get started. Now, number one, what is it that you really want to do? Okay, this is important because look, I understand that we all want to invest in real estate. I understand that we all want to be successful. I understand that we all want to make money. But at the end of the day, investing in real estate is really just a vehicle to get you to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. So it is very, very important that if you're brand new and you're looking at this, you want to identify what your life's mission or what your life's purpose really is. Okay. Sometimes people call it identifying what your reason why is, what your real reason why is. Okay. I know that again, we all want to be successful. We all want to invest in real estate, but there's got to be something a little bit deeper because there are going to be pitfalls. There are going to be deals that are going to be challenging. There are going to be deals that are going to fall apart. There are going to be transactions where you're hoping and expecting that they're going to close and then they don't close. And so what will happen is if you don't have that end goal in mind, that end vision in mind of what your real purpose is, it's going to become really easy to just look for another vehicle. Okay, and this is a great vehicle to be a part of. Real estate is one of the greatest creators of wealth on the planet, but that doesn't mean that it isn't without its pitfalls. It doesn't mean that it isn't without its challenges. So identify what your life's mission is and what your purpose is. Okay, I've shared this with people before. I'll share it again. So one of my biggest goals is to help my community, right? My Latino, Hispanic community, especially the small business owners. I want to be able to provide a platform for them to be able to really learn how to scale their businesses, right? That's something that I'm very, very passionate about. I love real estate, but look, real estate isn't for everybody. And so my real goal and my real purpose is to help those business owners learn how to really run their business effectively, profitably, and learn how to scale it. That's my goal. All right. And that's what I'd like to do. So that's mine. Figure out what yours is and then pursue that passion using real estate as a vehicle. All right. Next thing, suspend all doubt. All right. This is important for you if you're brand new. All right. Because this isn't a question of, does this work? This is more a question of, will it work for you? It's already working for plenty of other people. It's already worked for other people. And look, even if you're not brand new, and even if you've been doing this for a little bit, and then you had some success, and then you haven't had success for a while, the truth is it worked at some point. There was something that caused it to work, right? I know that there's some people that have had flash in the pan success, right? Where they got a contract or they closed something or it happened really, really fast, but then they might go through a drought period. And typically what happens is then they start to doubt whether this works or not. Well, it did work at some point, right? It worked for you at the beginning. What happened after that? So you have to learn how to suspend all doubt because it does work, and it works across, across the country. People are doing this. So withhold any disbelief while you are doing this. Just make sure that you stay committed again. And that's where going back to your life's purpose comes into play. Okay, don't compare yourself. Don't compare where you are at right now. Don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. And look, I'm guilty of this all the time. It is impossible to not be guilty of it as you're scrolling through social media. We all use social media. We all use our phones. And when you're doing that, you're looking at what other people are doing. You're looking at what other people are the success that they might be having. And we're looking at everybody else's highlight reels. And then we're comparing to where we are at this particular moment. And if you catch yourself at the wrong time and you're at a low point because something might not be going right, it crushes you even more. So don't compare what you're doing to somebody else. All right. Progress, doesn't matter how slow it is still progress. Okay. And it's amazing how a lot of people, what they will do is they will underestimate what can be done in 5 years and overestimate what can be done in 1 year, right? So everybody anticipates in success immediately. But if you look at it long term, the ones who succeed are always the ones that don't quit. So don't compare yourself. Respect the profession. This is very, very important. All right. Give it the respect and the time and the attention that it deserves. All right. People go to college, they go to universities, they get master's degrees, they get PhDs, they get doctorates, they get all this stuff, and they spend years educating themselves in their respective professions. But for whatever reason, in our business, people get involved, and in 4 to 6 months, if they're not seeing any massive success, they think it's because it doesn't work. Right? You have to respect the profession. You have to learn everything that there is to learn about it. And you have to learn how to not only learn, then you have to learn how to execute. And then not only do you have to learn how to execute, then you have to learn how to scale. There's a lot of stuff that you don't know yet, and it's okay. All right. But the point is if you don't respect that and you just assume that, hey, if I'm not succeeding in this, or if I just try this in the next 4 to 6 months and I don't get what I want out of it, I'm out of it. Well, then the profession, the business, it will respect you back the same way. You treat it like a hobby, it's going to treat you like a hobby. You treat it like a side piece, it's going to treat you like a side piece. You treat it like leftovers, it's going to treat you like leftovers. So give it the time and the respect and the attention that it deserves. All right. Stay focused on one strategy. Okay. Master just one strategy. So if there's anything that I'm going to cover with you right now. So before we started the call, Yolanda was talking to me about cold calling. And cold calling is just one strategy. We're going to talk about that. Make sure that whatever one strategy you decide that you want to focus on, you focus on and you become a master of it. Just become a master of one thing right now. Don't get caught with the shiny object syndrome, because what happens is you will see people doing multiple things, and you're going to hear this person having success using this strategy, and this person having success using this strategy, and this person having success with probate leads, and this person having success with tax liens, and and you're going to hear all these different things, especially as we go through the internet. But the truth is, until you master one, there's no way that you can move on to another strategy, because you haven't even gotten one down that's working effectively for you. So pick one, whatever it might be, whatever one you feel most comfortable with. For instance, I'm not a door knocker. Okay, I've never been a door knocker. That's just not my thing. All right. Some people love door knocking. They love going out there and visiting and talking to people. That's what they love to do. I'm just not one of them. And the reason that I don't do that is because I tend to run very warm. I'm very warm-blooded, right? Plus I carry on a few pounds. But the point is that when I'm out there and I'm walking, and then if it's sunny and it's warm and it's hot, by the time I get from my car to the front door, I'm already sweating, and I could be drenched in sweat depending on what the temperature is outside. So my point is that that's just not for me. That's not the strategy that I typically tend to use. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So pick the strategy that you want, master it. And then once you've mastered it, then you can start to learn how to delegate things. And that's future trainings. But once you master it, then you can move on to other ones. All right. Now, what is it that we do? Let's talk about that. Let's break it down so that it is understood in its simplest forms. We identify opportunities for real estate investors. Okay. And when I say real estate investors, that means you. All right. You are a real estate investor. Now, if you're brand new, going back to what I said earlier, the opportunity might not be something that you are going to complete yourself at right now. 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, once you build up a little bit of confidence, once you build up a little bit of a bank account, you may decide, hey, now I am the investor. I am identifying opportunities for me. And that's okay too. Right now, you may already, even if you're brand new, you might have the capital and you might be ready. And you are looking to identify the opportunities for yourself. In its simplest form, though, that's what we do. We identify opportunities for real estate investors. That's what we do. Now, the best ones are opportunities and properties that we can add value to. Those are probably going to be the best ones, but those aren't the only ones, okay? So properties that we can add value to are the kind of properties that are typically going to be properties that are fixer-uppers. They need work on, they need to be remodeled, they need to be rehabbed, but This also could be multifamily properties that you can add value to, okay? I haven't really gone too much into multifamily properties since we started the team, since we started the organization, but I'm gonna start talking more about it now. There are properties that you can add values to as in the multifamily sectors. For instance, if you have 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 5 units, 10 units, and all of those 10 units have tenants that have been paying below market rents, well, there's an opportunity for you to add value there. How? And you get the property, you put it under contract, you either purchase it, perform yourself, or you find an investor that is looking for properties multifamily properties that they can purchase, right? And they can clean house, get the tenants out that might be paying below market rent, right? However strategy they use is up to them. And then they bring in new tenants, or they fix the property up, bring in new tenants that can pay market rent. And then all of a sudden you have a property that went from, a lower cap rate property that had a lower net operating income to a multifamily property that all of a sudden now the tenants are paying top dollar. That is another example of properties that investors can add value to, right? So keep that in mind, that is what we do. Now, why do we do this? Okay, so home sellers, and this is, they need us, all right? They need people like us who are good at identifying these opportunities. Why? Because not all homes qualify for traditional financing. This is very, very important. Some homes are not going to be able to get a loan on it. You can't get an FHA loan on it. You can't get a conventional loan on it. And it's because some of those homes have too many repairs, right? FHA, for first-time home buyers, they have minimum standards that that property needs to meet in order for the buyer to be able to purchase that property, right? So if it doesn't have a water heater, if it has broken windows, if it has a bunch of chipping paint, if the roof is damaged and there's visible holes in the roof, like those are the things that would prevent it from being able to be financed. And in that case, the only type of buyer that's going to be able to purchase it is an all cash buyer. And typically it's going to be investors, right? Investors are going to be those purchases. Now, the other thing is we offer creative solutions. Okay, that's another thing that we can do. We can offer some type of seller financing. We can offer some type of subject to purchase. We can offer a hybrid of those two. So creative solutions is another great way for these sellers to be able to sell their properties, because they're not going to be able to be sold on the open market using in FHA or conventional loans. Some sellers can't afford and do not want to make repairs to the property. Okay, that's another reason that they need us. They just don't want to. They don't want to deal with the headache. They don't want to deal with the stress. Some of them don't want people coming into their homes. Okay, unfortunately, some people, you've seen the hoarder houses, right? And we're not judging here, and I'm not criticizing anyone here, but they may just live in conditions that they really just don't want people to come in and see, or they don't even want to deal with the hoarding. They don't want to deal with the stuff that's in the house. They don't want to deal with, I've seen it all, and I'm sure you've seen some stuff too, where you've got cat poop, dog poop, dead rats, filth. It's just unbelievable, and they don't even want to deal with that. So what they're saying is, look, I don't even want to deal with this. I don't want to have to clean it up. I don't want to get it vacant. I just give me an offer, make me a fair offer, and then let's close, and then we'll move on. And there's people like that. Some sellers don't want to use an agent for whatever reason. They just don't want to use a real estate agent. Everybody has their preference. And some sellers need a guaranteed fast close. Okay. I was on the phone somebody yesterday, and really they were more interested in how fast we could close as opposed to the actual price of the property that they were selling. That was more important to them, because they had an offer in another property somewhere else, and they were going to lose that property if they couldn't confirm that they were going to be able to close on time and buy. So, some sellers need it guaranteed and they need it fast. And that's where people like us come into play. All right, now, why do we do this, and why do investors need us? Investors need us because investors are good at a few different things, okay? Some of them are good at fix and flips. Some of them are good at buying properties, holding them, building their portfolio. Some of them are good at turning them into Airbnbs. They've got designers. They do all types of amazing things. But investors tend to not necessarily be the ones who are doing all the prospecting. They're not the ones who are identifying the opportunities. Their end strategy is a little bit different than ours. And so what happens is we act as that bridge between the seller and the investor, because the investor wants to spend their time on more high performing opportunities. They want to spend their time where they get paid more money, right? And they get paid more money doing what they're good at, which is the flips, the investing, the Airbnbs. Okay, fix and flips are also a long-term strategy, and many don't want to be distracted. And if we're doing this right, we're talking to sellers all day long. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're talking to sellers all day long. We're either calling them, we're following up with them, we're texting them, we're getting contracts. That's what we do. And that's why investors appreciate what it is that we do. They get to do what they want to do and what they want to be focused on, and we can do what we're good at and what we're focused on. And once you become good at this skill, once you become good at talking to sellers, right, it just becomes much, much easier, right? Much easier. Excuse me, that language becomes easier. All right. Why do the neighbors need us? This is important. A lot of people don't realize this, okay? So neighbors need us because there are some properties, especially if someone inherited a property and it's and they live in another state, and you've got properties that might be boarded up. You've got properties that might have turned into meth houses. You've got properties that are a blight to the community. You've got properties where it can be a danger to children in the community, where if you got somebody that goes in there and takes a child in there, you've got all these issues. You've got safety issues. And when we bridge that opportunity and we find the investor, or again, thinking long-term, you become the investor, you purchase that property, you fix that property up, you sell that property. What does it do? It increases the property values. It makes a community safer. No one wants to live next to like a dilapidated house, and we're making a difference in the community, right? I've shared this story before. I'm going to share it again. I grew up in Highland Park, Los Angeles during the 80s. It was pretty gang infested at that time. And right around 1996, my father was murdered in Highland Park, and at his liquor store, meat market, whatever he had at that time. It was in Spanish, it's called a carniceria, and he had one. And late in the evening, while he was closing it up, you've got a few gang members that are chasing another gang member. He barricades the door to stop them from coming in. He gets shot, and and that's the end of that story. So why am I sharing this? Because you know what? If we had had a community that was a little bit better then, if we had had a community that Highland Park is now, my father might still be here today. I don't know, but the reality is that if we can do this and we can make a better community and we can improve property values and we can make it safer, then I'm all for it. All right. So that's why the neighbors need us. Now, as an organization, okay, our organization is licensed in California, Florida, and Nevada. We're working on a few other states right now, but these are the three states that we are licensed in. So why am I sharing this with everyone, and why is this important? Because if you are working any of those markets, California, Florida, or Nevada, and you need a real estate agent or a real estate broker to help you submit offers to on-market properties, we can do that for you. And because we are familiar with like the assignments, and we are familiar with wholesaling and creative finance and hybrids and sub-twos and all of that stuff, we can help you draft up the contract, and we don't have a problem representing it because we're familiar with all the terms and we know how to present it in a way that the agent is going to be, or the broker is going to be, a lot more open to what it is that you're offering. Okay, so keep that in mind. Other major metro markets that we're focusing on: Arizona, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma. All right, that's what we're focusing on. But let's talk about that. When you are focusing on these markets, it's important that you tend to stay in the metro markets. Try to stay in the markets that have at least 100,000 people or more, right? You don't want to go too rural. Can you do this in a rural market? Sure, of course you can. Is it going to be a little bit more difficult right now? It probably is. Okay, during the pandemic, it was a different market because people were trying to escape to the more rural areas. But right now, a lot of the more rural areas are being hit really hard, and people are trying to offload a lot of these properties, and it's not working. So just be mindful of that. I would stick into metro areas unless you get the property at such a good deal that it would be stupid not to work that opportunity. Okay. And there's lists, by the way, there's lists. If you look up the 10 fastest growing, I think it's on Forbes. I think I saw it on Forbes. Let's take a look at it real fast. 10 fastest growing real estate markets, 2023. Housing predictions. Let's see if it's here. I just read the article somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it was, but they gave us the 10 fastest growing real estate markets, and they also the 10 markets that are slowing the most, slowest real estate markets. So you want to do a little bit of research on what markets I'm sorry, I couldn't find it. Do a little bit of research on where it is that you want to go. Try to keep it metro. Try to find markets that are obviously in the upswing. It makes it a little bit easier to sell. But you can also go into the markets that are on the downswing, right? Because you can negotiate a little bit harder on those prices, depending on the offer. All right, so you've got advantages in both markets. You got advantages in the markets that are going up. Why? Because you could offer a little bit more, knowing that those markets are going up. And then in the markets that are going down, you're just going to be more aggressive on your offer, because you're going to assume that 4 to 6 months from now, price will continue to decline, and you have to adjust your offer to reflect that to the investor that you're selling it to. All right, emerging markets, let's move on. Okay, let's talk about acquisitions, how to get your first deal. So sorry, I know that I went on a tangent here. I did that mainly for mindset training, okay? Because when you're just getting started and you're looking for your very first deal, it's all about this. It's really mindset more than anything else, okay? Mindset over skill set, believe me, okay? Believe me, it's always mindset over skill set. I have seen some new people that got involved, and they're doing great just because more of their positive mindset, more than their skill set. And they just find leads. They just talk to enough people, and they're so positive about what it is that they're doing that people just gravitate towards them, as opposed to someone who has an amazing skill set, but really just isn't executing, and they're not as positive. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, now acquisitions, how we're going to get your first deal. All right, there are 2 categories for properties in sale. There's off market. Okay, they're not on the MLS or Zillow. Off market does not always mean that they're not represented by an agent. This is important. Okay, don't confuse off market to be the absence of a realtor or a broker, okay, because it's not necessarily true. But if it is on the MLS and if it is on Zillow, then 100% it's represented by an agent. Typically not represented by an agent, but that doesn't mean they're not part of the transaction. Okay, on market is on market on the MLS or Zillow, typically represented by a real estate agent. Focus strictly on off-market opportunities not represented by an agent. Okay, so I'm going to remove that. We're not going to focus on that. We're going to be working both. And the reason that I suggest that you have you learn both strategies of off-market and on-market is because there are still opportunities. Okay? And I think in prior trainings, I've shown you opportunities where people are going in, they're purchasing an on-market property, and then 3 to 4 months later, an investor, they're assigning it to an investor purchases it, and 3 to 4 months later, we're seeing $60,000 to $100,000 spreads. So it's there. We just have to learn how to do it. All right, acquisitions, lead generations, off market. All right, so number 1, you're going to have to talk to people. Okay, this is important. You're going to have to get used to talking to people. That's just a part of what we do. If you do not like talking to people, if you are completely antisocial, this is not the business for you. You have to get comfortable talking to people. We will provide the lists for you. Okay, at least if you're a part of our team and our organization, we're pulling lists all the time, and we share those lists all the time. And that leads us to the next question, which is, but Paul, if you're calling those lists and other people are calling this list and they're calling these lists, then how do I know that I'm going to get that business? Well, here's the deal. Your lists are my lists are your lists. Any list that I can go buy online, somebody else can buy. Everybody's calling each other's lists. That's just the reality. My clients are your clients are my clients, my sellers are your sellers are my sellers. We all have access to the same information, period. Okay, that's the reality. The question is the data available? Because it's totally available to those who are going to purchase it. The question is, who is going to actually contact those people? That's what's most important. All right. So don't worry about the list and other people calling the list and you're going to have to compete with them. There really isn't as much competition as you think, because the truth is you have to get on the phone and you have to actually make contact with these people. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to relate to some people better than I will. That is, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to relate to some people better than you can. There's nothing that you can do about that. There are some people that are going to relate to a certain accent better. There's some people who won't listen to anything I have to say because I remind them of a guy that broke their daughter's heart while she was in high school. It's all types of weird things. You can't control that. Okay, so since you can't control that, don't spend time there. Focus on what you can control, which is actually reaching out to people and making contact with these people. So we'll provide the list for you. You can contact those lists. Again, Yolanda and I earlier, when we started the call, we were talking about using an auto dialer, which is Mojo. That's something that we use. So this is the auto dialer that we recommend. I like Mojo. Another one that we've used in the past is Call Tools. and this is a 10-line dialer. So this is a 3-line dialer. This is a 10-line dialer. So what is the difference between the two? The difference between the two is it's dialing 3 lines at a time, and the other one's dialing 10 lines at a time. Okay, so, but Paul, if it's dialing 10 people, what if 3 people pick up? Well, what happens is it connects you to the first one that picks up, and then the other 3 hear a pre-recorded message that says something like, hey, it's Paul, I can't really hear you, I'll call you right back, boom. And then once you hang up on the other call, it then reroutes it, and then it tries to call that person who picked up the first time. All right, so that's auto dialers. That's one way that you can get deals, off-market deals. The other way is driving for dollars. Okay, what is driving for dollars? Well, driving for dollars is basically where you, let's say, take a different route home from work every day. Take a different route to work every day. Take a different route during lunch every day. Whatever it is that you're doing, you're just doing it in a different way so that you can see other properties. And as you're doing it, you're making sure that you are aware of any properties that have obviously need work. Okay, now here's the deal, and I'm going to add this to here for driving for dollars. Let's duplicate this slide. Driving for dollars, dialers. Okay, you want at least 3 negative items. Let's just say negative items for now. I sound like I'm talking about a credit report. All right, 3 things on a property in order for you to consider it as a possibility. So let's say you're driving past a property, the house is pristine, but the front lawn is completely overgrown. Okay, that may not necessarily be an opportunity for you to go and knock on the door or put a letter or put a sticky or whatever you want to do. You want a property that has 3 visible things that are clearly wrong with it. Okay, so for instance, if you've got damaged windows, if you've got cardboard on the windows, if you've got damaged roof, right, you've got major peeling paint throughout the entire part of the property, and you've got overgrown grass. When you've got multiple things that need to be corrected, that's when you know that that's a property that you should probably go and take a look at. Okay, so if you've got a property that has a damaged roof, but everything else looks pretty good, what that tells you, or tells me at least, is that, well, that property just needs a new roof, and those people are probably, it's not urgent for them quite yet. But when you see multiple pain points about the property, a minimum of 3 pain points, 3 items of repairs, whatever it is that you want to call it. When you see at least 3 of those, then it might be an opportunity to go and talk to that person. So if you're going to go talk to that person, you're going to knock on the door, and the script that I always use is, hi, hey, listen, my name is Paul. I'm a local home buyer in the area. I just drove past your house. I took a look at it. I wanted to see if there was a chance you might be open to an all-cash offer on your property. And that's the same script, by the way, that I use when I'm on the phone. So when I'm on the phones and I'm doing cold calling, I'm just saying, hey, listen, I just came across your property at 123 Mockingbird Lane. I wanted to see if you might be open to an all-cash offer. And then I wait and hear what they say. Okay. Everyone, 99% of the time, I've said this before, everyone is going to say no at the very beginning. They always do. Okay. That's just the way it is. It is 9:32. I am going to take a quick breather just to get some oxygen to the brain. And I'm checking the comments. So if there are any comments, this is a good time for you to ask them while I continue going through this, just to give me a second, just to catch my breath, take a quick drink. Any questions, comments about any of the stuff that we've covered right now? You're more than welcome to do that.
Hey, Paul, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
For foreclosure homes, if you're going to like knock on their door, do you tell them the same thing, all cash offer?
Cool. All right. So let's do driving for dollars now, and then let's duplicate this slide, and then we're going to talk about foreclosure. Okay. So for foreclosure properties, we want to talk about home retention. All right. So the script that I'm going to use for foreclosures, if I'm going over to them, and I remember you were pulling those list crystals, that's great. So if we have properties that are in foreclosure, I am going to go knock on the door, and I'm going to approach them a lot more humble as opposed to I'm an investor. So I'm going to go knock on the door. Hi, I'm looking for. Now, if you have a foreclosure list, then you know who lives at the property. You're going to know their name and number, or their names. So, hi, I'm looking for John or Jane Doe. Hi, Jane. Listen, my name's Paul. Listen, I work with a home retention group. I work with a home retention organization. I work with a I wouldn't say company, but a home retention group. And here's the deal. This might be a mistake. And if it is a mistake, I'm sorry, but it looks like the property is scheduled for auction sometime in the next 2 to 3 months. All right. And I just wanted to make sure that you knew all of your options and that you've contacted the lender so that you can get it off that list so that it doesn't go to auction. Have you done that yet? And then you see what they say. Now, the reason that I'm suggesting that you use that strategy versus going over there saying, hey, I'm an investor and I want to buy your house all cash is because most of the people who are in foreclosure, they don't want to leave their house. Okay, they're in denial that they're in foreclosure. They haven't responded, most of them haven't responded to their lenders, haven't responded to the foreclosing attorneys, haven't responded to the trustees, aren't opening their mail. They're ignoring all of the letters, they're ignoring all of the signs, and they're ignoring all the warnings. Now, there is a 10% of them that actually do respond, that do take preventative measures. They've hired attorneys, they've hired people to help them, and they are trying to prevent the foreclosure. But 90% of them are typically ignoring it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They're hoping that the problem will just fix itself out. So when we approach them, we're going to be approaching them as home retention advocates. That's really what we want to do. We want to help them stay in the home. Now, if they say, well, how are you going to do that? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tell them, well, John or Jane, listen, here's what we need to do. We need to contact the lender ASAP, and we need to do a couple things. Number one, we need to try to see, have you applied for a loan modification? Some of them are going to say yes. Some of them are going to say no. Some of them are going to say, I already have somebody doing that for me already. And then what I'll say is, great. I don't know if you know it or not, but you can actually have more than one person helping you, and it doesn't cost you any money. I'm not here to collect any money from you, but if you've got more than one person helping you so that you can stay in your home, it just increases your chances of you staying here. So, why not explore it, right? Well, you applied for a loan modification. What else have you done? And then you wait and see what they say. Now, the other thing that a lot of people are doing is people are taking advantage of the COVID forbearance program. Yes, I know that the pandemic is over. I know that, COVID seems like it's a thing of the past, but banks are still offering COVID forbearance programs where people can, they can take 3 months, 6 months, I think maybe even up to 9 months or a year of the mortgage payments that they're behind, and then they will put them on the back of the loan. It's a forbearance. Okay, it doesn't mean that the amount that they owed is being discounted. It just means that it's being put on the back of the loan. So it just extends their loan another, whatever it is that they're behind. So if they're behind 6 months, then it just makes their loan, instead of 30 years left over, now it's 30 years into 6 months. Okay. So people are taking advantage of that. And a lot of people I've spoken to, some of them don't even realize that you could still take advantage of the COVID forbearance program. So and some of them have already done that. Some of them are like, yeah, I've done that already. So I did the COVID forbearance. Now I'm trying for a loan modification. Now, if you ask these questions and you listen closely, some of them will even say, I did the loan modification application, but it was rejected. And if it was rejected, then you already know that the foreclosure train is coming. Okay, it's going to happen. The only other option for them is to file for bankruptcy. Okay, and some of them will do it, and some of them don't want to do it, and some of them don't want to have the additional expense of trying to file for bankruptcy. So the next options are just hearing them out and hearing what it is that they'd like to do. Okay, so Mr. or Mrs. Seller, what you're telling me then is that you've taken advantage of the COVID forbearance program. Is that right? Okay. And you've applied for a loan modification, correct? Yes. And it looks like it was rejected? Yes. Okay, great. So really, there aren't many other options. I mean, have you thought about taking out a personal loan from someone? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend that they try to get a personal loan from somebody, and I wait and see what they say about that. Okay. Depending on how much they owe, could be $5,000, could be $30,000, could be $100,000 that they're behind. But the point is that you want to explore all other options. You want to exhaust the options before you come in guns blazing with, okay, let's sell your house. I'm going to buy it from you. Okay. So the next thing is, well, have you thought about just taking out a personal loan from someone that can help you? And then you wait and see what they say. And a lot of times people don't have the resources, or friends or family that are going to be able to have those kind of resources to lend them the money. But at least you're showing in good faith that you're trying. Okay. Now, people do ask me, well, why are you going through this entire process? Here's why. If you do this correctly and you actually come from a good place where you're trying to help them out, some of these people will actually successfully get a loan modification. Some of them will be able to stay in their home. And if they do stay in their home, guess what? Now you've got a cheerleading squad. Now you've got people that will potentially refer you other clients. Now you've got someone that believes in you. And if by chance they do go into default again, then guess who is going to be the first person that they call? All right, so keep that in mind. All right, most people who do go into default, unfortunately, end up going into default a second time. That's it's statistically speaking. That's not me. That's me knowing the stats. All right, so when you're working with foreclosures, first goal is to talk about home retention and making sure that they understand what their options are. And really, when you say what their options are, all you're really trying to do is you're trying to say, hey, just get a hold of the lender. Get a hold. I have the information. I have the phone number. Just get a hold of the lender. Try to get a COVID release forbearance. Try to get a loan modification. See if that doesn't work. And if that doesn't work, then try to get a personal loan. And then if that doesn't work, we can talk about what the other options are then. All right. And if it doesn't pan out, well, then now you are a viable option for a short sale. Now you are a viable option for subject to. Now you are a viable option for an all cash sale if they're about to get foreclosed on a week to 2 weeks from now. You know, they're more if they have to close in a week to 2 weeks from now, trying to put it on the MLS with a real estate agent selling it traditionally is not going to happen, because a normal buyer is going to try to close on that transaction, and it's going to take them about 30 to 45 days. And if they're 2 weeks away from foreclosure, they're not going to be able to sell the property to a traditional buyer, right? They're going to need an all cash investor to come in and make that purchase, or they're going to lose a property, and then they could potentially lose any equity that they might have. All right, did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. All right, so driving for dollars, we go over those 3 pain points. Foreclosures is also driving for dollars. All right, that's something that you can do. Another thing that you can do, and some people do this, is you can actually virtually drive for dollars. All right. Some people have had success with this. Some people haven't had success with this, but it's pretty simple. You just go, you type in a zip code, and then you go to Google Maps. And then what you do is you go to Street View. So let's just go to Street View. I use 90042 a lot because that is, that's where I grew up. All right, so here's a street. Believe it or not, people do this. They'll spend an hour or 2 a day, or they'll have an assistant do it an hour or 2 a day, and then they'll just look at properties. All right. So this is an example of a property. Doesn't look too damaged, doesn't look too beat up. I'm looking for at least 3 pain points. All I see is really just dead grass. So this isn't one. And then they move on. Move on to the next one. That's part of their lot. And then they move on to the next one. And then we're looking for another property here. And I want to see one that might qualify as an investment opportunity. All right, this is not one. Then they come here again and they look at it again. This is called virtually. So this one I can't really tell. Virtually driving for dollars. Now let's just assume that I'm then able to get one of these properties. No. Really fast. So if you don't have time to go driving around for driving for dollars, this is a good way to do it. Yes, I know some of these are Google street images, and sometimes they're a little old, and sometimes the properties haven't been fixed up. I realize that. Or excuse me, they've been already bought and sold and fixed up. I realize that. But even so, this is still a pretty good time saver for you. A lot of people never thought about doing this, but this is a good way to save time so that you can go in here and look for properties that might need those minimum 3 repairs. Haven't seen any yet. Once you find one, then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to want to skip trace. All right. Now, one of the skip tracing services that I use is batchskiptracing.com. They are about 15 to 20 cents a lead. So you log in, you put in the property address, and they will give you the name and telephone number for this person. And then you can call them. All right, then you can give them a call. So that is the driving for dollars. Okay, there's literally driving for dollars, and then there's virtually driving for dollars. Okay, again, just pick one strategy that works for you. Okay, pick one. All right. Now, if you're full-time, and most people aren't going to dive into this full-time, most people start part-time. Most people are going to have an hour to 2 hours that they're going to be able to do this during the day. And if you're going to be doing this for an hour to 2 hours, then you might only be able to pick one strategy. I mean, and you might be able to do 2 strategies. Okay. But this is another thing that you can do. You can drive for dollars, or you can do virtual driving for dollars. Now, if you're driving for dollars and you're just going to and from work or to and from places, and you just take alternate routes as you're doing it, this is a good way for you to be able to go and find other properties. What I'll do is I'll take a picture of the property, take a picture of the address, and then I'll go skip trace it, and then I'll reach out to them if I go door knock it and they're not there. All right. Okay. Now I talked a little bit about cold calling. And I talked a little bit about the auto dialer. All these services do cost a little bit of money, right? This costs about $150. This costs about $200 or $300. So they do cost some money. Skip tracing costs a little bit of money as well. There is going to be a little bit of an investment on your part in order for this business to work for you. But that's the reality of it, okay? You're going to have to invest a little bit of money in order to get this going, and you're going to have to invest time. And time is money as well. So just get used to that. The other thing that you can do is you can also look for properties on Zillow. So you can go to Zillow and you can look for properties that are being sold for sale by owner. All right. So we can come here, and then you want the ones for sale, and you want houses to townhomes. You want everything. I mean, I guess you can even do lots. Sometimes you can flip lots as well. I haven't really been going into lots or multifamily. Everything I've been doing is just houses lately, but you can do a lot more than just single family residences. Okay. So I've removed the boundary. I don't know if you caught me doing that. Then you come to more, and you only want by owner. And you only want owner posted. You don't want agent listed. You don't want foreclosures or auctions right now, because they don't have their telephone numbers there anyway. And you don't necessarily, I guess you could do it. Coming soon is typically an agent. So you just want owner posted. So then what you do, if you got these properties here, and now you can start looking at the properties that are currently for sale, and you can reach out to them. Now, if they just went on the market, I will tell you that, look, this home just went on the market for 17 hours ago. If it just went on the market 17 hours ago, this person hasn't really been hit by the market. This person they're still very optimistic. They're still very positive about, putting their house up for sale. They think it's simple. They think I just put a sign up, I just put it on Zillow, and it's going to sell itself. A lot of people think that way. And it doesn't happen. All right. Especially if they're for sale by owner and they're being aggressive on the price. So my recommendation is don't start with the newest. We're going to sort it by newest, but I want you to start with the oldest. So go to the oldest for sale by owner. Those are the best ones, because those are the ones that have been sitting the longest. They're a little bit more, they've been hurt a little bit more by the market. Okay. They're a little bit more flexible in terms of their terms. So you've got one here. This one is 2,915 days on Zillow. I think this is one that's been left for sale by owner, and they forgot to take it down. So, I don't know. You can call them. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You give them a call, see if they're still trying to sell. It's a townhouse. You give them a call. Hey, John or Jane, listen, I'm calling about your property on Santa Monica. Now, if you don't know, we provide the scripts as well. These are the scripts that I would suggest that you use. If you go to scripts.goya.gg, the scripts are there, and you can use the Zillow on market script. You can use it for sale by owner script. We have a few different scripts on there. I don't know why this is doing this, but okay. Anyway, so they're there. So I would call and I'd say, hey, I'm calling about the condo that's for sale on 19th Street, Unit A. My name's Paul. I'm a local home buyer. I'm interested in the property. All right. And then I'm going to ask him, is it available? Yes, it's available. Do you have any offers currently on the table? No offers currently on the table. Have you gotten any offers on the property? That's the next question I'm going to ask them. Now, as I'm asking them these questions, understand that some people are going to be rude. All right. You're going to get some people that are going to be like, well, what difference does it make? Why are you asking me all of these questions? All right. A legitimate buyer is going to ask legitimate questions. Okay. So they're going to ask questions. And so for a seller who is selling their property, right, they should be comfortable with that. So I don't have a problem telling someone when they say, well, why are you asking me so many questions? Because I'm a legitimate buyer, and a legitimate buyer is going to have questions. These are buying questions. That's why I'm asking them. Right? I don't have a problem with that. That's my posture. I'm not being rude. I'm just saying, hey, look, I'm a real buyer. And if I'm a real buyer, is going to have real questions. right? These aren't like, hey, you know, what's the weather like in that neighborhood questions. These are legitimate questions here. So number one, have you gotten any offers on it? What were the offers? What were the range of those offers? Some of them are going to share those with you. I've done calls in the past with other people where you've heard me do it, and they'll give me actual figures. They'll say, well, we've gotten offers within this range, but that's too low. And the reason that you want to ask those questions is because that allows you to gauge their level of motivation. If this property is listed for $2 million and they've gotten offers at 1.5 and they still haven't accepted it, well, you already know that, look, they're not going to come down on the price, or they're not going to be discounted at all. Okay. And I'm just using this as an example. I'm not necessarily saying that this is a good opportunity for like, an assignment or a wholesale or a creative finance. Maybe it is, I don't know, or an Airbnb, who knows? But my point is, I would give them a call and I would ask those questions. Then I would say, hey, look, is there any flexibility on the price? And some of them are going to say yes, and some of them are going to say no. Look, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't know if I'm going to keep it as a rental. I don't know if I'm going to turn it into an Airbnb. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it quite yet. But I may, depending on when they bought it and what kind of loan they may have, I may even try to turn it into creative financing. So see, this person purchased it in 1992. They tried to sell it in 2007, and then they've been trying to sell it since March of this year for $2 million. So they were actually higher in 2017. So because I know that they purchased it for $395, in my opinion, this would be someone that I would try to approach and see if they would do some type of seller financing. I would say something like, hey, John or Jane, if there was a way that I could come up to your price, if I could come up to your price, do you think you might be willing to work with me on terms? And most people are going to be like, well, what do you mean terms? What does that mean? Well, and that's what I'd say. If I come in with a down payment that's agreeable to you and a down payment that's agreeable to me, or that makes sense for me, would you be willing to take monthly payments on the property? And then you wait and see what they say. All right. This is one that I would turn into creative financing. And that's another reason that you want to check the price and tax history when you are going after for sale by owners using Zillow, because you can see exactly what they purchased it and what you might be able to accomplish and creatively. Okay. So that's an example of one. Here's another one. I think it's a vacant lot over there in Malibu. We've got another for sale by owner here. It's been on the market for several months now, 235 days. So that's almost 8 months that they've been trying to sell it. Looks like a great house. So the question then is, why hasn't it sold? Let's see when they purchased it. It looks like it might be a flip. No, purchased it in 2019 for $675. They fixed it up and they've been trying to sell it ever since. So I don't think this is a hard money loan, because if it was a hard money loan, they would have called it already within a year, and maybe they did, and then they refinanced it. I don't know. But again, this does look like the same type of buyer that I would call, and I would see if they'd be open to some type of seller financing, because if they got it in 2019 for $675, I don't know what their loan is like, or if they even have a loan. But I would do something with this. Give them a call. So this is another way that you could get your first deal, right? Is by going after the on-market deals on for Zillow. You can do the same thing with Facebook Marketplace. If we go into Marketplace, you can go in here, pick an area, and you can look for houses. Now, clearly, this is a property and add value. The only challenge with Facebook Marketplace, and let me try to see if I can. The only challenge with Marketplace is that there are already a lot of wholesalers on there that are marketing their properties. And so if they are wholesalers, you're going to have to message them, and you're going to have to say, hey, are you a wholesaler? And, some wholesalers aren't going to want to work with other wholesalers, which is strange to me, but whatever. And so if they're a wholesaler, you can just say, hey, it looks like you're a wholesaler. We're a wholesaler. We do the same things. Would you be open to a joint venture? Would you be open to a JV? But there are sellers here in Marketplace. Let me see. I've got notifications. And then you can pick where you want to find other house sales. So let's say I don't want it within, we can do Fort Worth. Click apply. You come in here, you can click on it. Now, this can also be very time consuming if you do a bunch of research before you send the message out. So here's my recommendation. My recommendation is just send the message out. Is it available? Yes, move on. And move on to the next one. This one looks like, not bad. And then just send the message and move on. Don't spend too much time over analyzing a property when you're doing this, because you'll spend minutes and then minutes become hours. So what you do is that's interesting. So now you just send them a message and you wait and see. Now I have shared this too, but if you if you use this script, .ly, Facebook Marketplace. I thought it was, what was it that I thought I created a script. Hold on, I'll share this too. Sorry, my internet's acting a little weird. Facebook Marketplace. So I have a script as well, and I thought I created a shortcut for it. But these are the text messages that we just copy and paste. Are you the owner? Do you have additional interior photos? Any flexibility in price? So I make this available to everybody. We just give it to you, and you can go in there and you can communicate with the sellers. Look at this one. This one's pretty bad. Hi, is this available? And you send the message. Then what you do is you sit tight, and as they respond back, you figure out which ones are actually sellers and which ones are wholesalers and which ones are agents, and you decide who you're going to want to work with. Just because they're a wholesaler doesn't mean that you can't develop a relationship with someone. So use every opportunity that you have to build relationships with someone. So if somebody comes back and they say, hey, I'm a wholesaler, I'm assigning the contract. Hi, hello, yes, sir. Are you a local investor? All right, so let's just use this as an example. I'm doing this live. You guys are watching me do this right now. So I'm going to copy and paste this. Let's see what they say. Right? It's 9:56. While we wait for that response, is there any questions on Facebook land? Comments? I think I got another person that responded. No. Yes, sir. We closed on this property a few weeks back. Okay, cool. So this is an actual owner. All right. So let's take a look at this property, just so you get a feel for what I'm talking about. Wow. It's pretty bad. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, so now let's respond. We have adjusted the numbers this house due to the ARV. All right, now in this case, I'm dealing with an investor. I'm not dealing with a traditional seller. So I'm gonna try to see if I can use the same template. Let's see if it works. My keyboard is acting up. All right, and this is how I do it. And then I slowly go through the script. I have an anchor ending, right? What's the best number to text you on? They give me their number, and then I give them a call. All offline leads at some point all online leads have to become offline leads, in the sense that I need to get a hold of them on the phone. And then he gave me this folder, which is a typical wholesale property, right? This is a wholesaler. So I mean, now that I know this, sounds like you have quite a few of these. Are you a wholesaler? Then I will build a relationship. All right, why am I doing that? Because if you have a bunch of wholesalers that are also bringing you opportunities, as an investor, this is an opportunity for you to then either purchase it, fix it, flip it, or what if there's enough of a margin here to where you can then add a fee on top of it and then sell to one of your investors or to one of your buyers, right? So ideally, don't necessarily look at every time you communicate with someone who's doing the same thing that we're doing as a lost opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity to network, to be able to have other people bringing you other opportunities. All right. So today, our topic again was how to get your first deal. And I covered a lot of that today. So hopefully you saw some value in it. Do me a favor, make sure that if this made sense or you saw value in it, I do have other properties available. I do wholesale, but this is not a wholesale deal. We're actual owners of this one. Cool. All right. So my recommendation is that if you did see value in this, number one, watch it again. It's going to be on our private Facebook group. Number two, start to implement these strategies. Number three, find one that you really, really like and get really good at it. If you have, or you need help comping a deal, if you need help talking to a seller, if you need help talking to a buyer, whatever, you can always reach out to us and we can help, work with you on that deal. And if you think that there's other people that could benefit from the content, invite them to our private Facebook group. Okay. Our private Facebook group, just so you know, is facebook.com/Dispo Dragons. Okay. Groups.Dispo Dragons. Invite them to Dispo Dragons so that they can join. The more people that we have in our community that are sharing information and sharing what's working and sharing content and sharing opportunities, the more successful we're all going to be as well. All right. Tomorrow morning, I will be back on again at 9 a.m. and we're going to be doing disposition. So we're going to be talking about how to sell these opportunities. So let's say that you use these strategies and you finally got your first deal under contract. So what do we do next? What's the next thing that I do? Well, how do we sell those opportunities? How do we close on them? What are we going to do? So tomorrow, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how to sell them. And I'm going to actually be going over some contracts as well. So we'll be doing that tomorrow on dispositions at 9 a.m. here on the Zoom. It's a different link, so you have to re-register. Or you can also watch us on our private Facebook group. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Let's make it productive. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.